Hi, third grade, and welcome back to the final section of week 15 in your green grammar book. Let's go over the Thursday section together. Number 1, use the subordinating conjunction to combine the two sentences. Label the independent and dependent clauses of your sentence. I think of failing a test. I get nervous. They want us to use the subordinating conjunction whenever to combine these sentences. So when we've done this in the past, we've had two options. Should we put that conjunction in the middle between the two sentences, or should we start the sentence with the conjunction? Let's see. I think of failing a test whenever I get nervous. Or does it make more sense to say, whenever I think of failing a test, I get nervous? I do like it better that second way, so I went ahead and wrote, whenever I think of failing a test, comma, I get nervous. And now we need to label our independent and dependent clauses. The first clause is, whenever I think of failing a test. You need to think to yourself, is that part by itself, could it be a complete sentence? Whenever I think of failing a test. You should be shaking your head no. Therefore, that is a dependent clause because it cannot stand by itself. The second part, though, is I get nervous. That could be a complete sentence. Therefore, that is an independent clause. Number 2, identify if the sentence is simple, compound, or complex. This, boys and girls, has a clause that says, we can fish. That is an independent clause, all right? The other clause, until the sun goes down, is your dependent clause. So when you have a sentence that is mixed with an independent and a dependent clause, that is a complex sentence. And do not worry if this is still tricky for you, because we will be talking about this more coming up in quarter 3. Number 3, use descriptive language to rewrite the sentence. The wind blew the trees. I think that's a little boring, so I went ahead and wrote, the winter wind gently blew the bare trees, because there are no leaves on them. Okay, so I went ahead and added those describing words and an adverb in there to make my sentence more descriptive. Number 4, find a word with a prefix or suffix that matches the definition in parentheses. His blank hound dogs never left his side. They want us to find a word that means full of faith. What kind of hound dogs? Faithful, using that suffix ful. And lastly, number 5, identify which underlined phrase is literal and which is non-literal. The first sentence says, the mother told her bickering children to knock it off. Okay, if you're fighting with somebody or you're doing something you shouldn't be doing and someone tells you to knock it off, they don't really mean to knock something off of something. That's a phrase that means to stop it, okay? So that is actually a non-literal phrase. But you'll see in the second sentence, if you are not careful with the picture, you might knock it off the wall. In that instance, you might literally or actually knock it off the wall. So in that instance, knock it off is a literal phrase. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I will see you back next week for week 16.